Hi, this is Magda from wnetrzazewnetrza. In this episode, I'll show you a two-room apartment with a unique wall layout. Obtuse angles are quite a challenge, so how did the owner handle it? You'll see in a moment.
Hi, I'm Carolina. I invite you to my 44 square meter apartment. It's quite a challenge when it comes to how the developer designed the interior. And that's why I decided to get professional help, and I asked my sister directly, who is an interior architect. And the three main things that mattered to me were making the most of the rather small space, having plenty of storage, and maximizing functionality. Bright interiors, so that the lighting could be used however I want. And most importantly, that I could afford the whole thing.
Hey, I'm Ola. I'm an interior designer and I run the Lesro Design Studio. The project was challenging because of the unusual shape of this apartment and the unusual client, who was my sister. The results surpassed our expectations. Everything fit, and there was even plenty of unused space left for storage. This layout was proposed by the developer. Unfortunately, it didn't meet the client's standards. The spot by the shaft, it was just asking to be used for a wardrobe. Here, we also thought about putting in a washing machine and dryer. That's why our layout changed significantly. This is what the final layout looks like. To keep the entrance functional, we needed to cut off this corner of the bedroom and move the door to the longer side of the room. The living room with the kitchenette was divided by an island, which serves two functions. On one side, it's a countertop and extra workspace. And on the other side, it's a place where he put the television plus 2 bar stools for breakfast. We start, as usual, at the entrance. And right away, I'd like to draw your attention to the door, because originally they had a wooden veneer, a color somewhat similar to these furniture boards, but still different. And similar, but different, when placed next to each other, usually doesn't look very good. That's why the door was sent to be recovered, this time in gray, matching the color of the door frame. The wall around it was painted black. And now this entrance area has a certain depth here, and it looks nice and aesthetically pleasing. Meanwhile, right here we have closets, as you would expect in a hallway, and they have been very cleverly arranged. 2 IKEA frames were used here, one deeper and one shallower. Here we have shelves, and here is a space for jackets with a rod. However, these frames are not sufficient. They wouldn't reach the ceiling, nor would they create a wardrobe of the right size here. That's why the last part was custom made by a carpenter. Here above these cabinets, there's also a shelf custom made by the carpenter, and moreover, here at the end, we have a cabinet set at an angle. It's small, but it's perfect for storing brushes and a mop. The front was cut at an angle because the walls here meet at an obtuse angle, and the idea was to align the cabinet so that it's at a right angle to the wall with the door, which is slanted. You'll probably see it better on the floor plan. I'll just add that the fronts were of course custom made to go from floor to ceiling, so this combination of a carpenter's work with ready-made modules helped optimize the costs. In this part of the wardrobe there were these pull-out shelves which help make use of a cabinet that's deep but narrow. If we put shoes in 2 rows on the shelves, it would be hard to reach the ones in the back, but here there's no problem at all, because we just reach for them from the side. In this spot, there's the entrance to the bathroom behind these hidden doors that are flush with the wall, and they've been covered with wallpaper. And notice that by hiding the door frame, the closet could be placed this close, which normally wouldn't be possible. In this spot, the developer's original design had the entrance to the bedroom, but as you already know, it was moved to this wall. Wow. This wall was made at an angle, which you actually don't feel at all in this spot, because it's parallel to the kitchen cabinetry. And since we're talking about the kitchen cabinetry, this is where the problematic shaft is hidden behind the front, or actually behind the furniture board. But it's just a panel, nothing opens here, but here we do have a storage space. And here, a washing machine with a dryer. The built-in furniture was extended further, and we have a furniture board all the way to the entrance, which makes the interior look cohesive. This mirror was made from Ola's idea. It is constructed from 2 furniture boards, one underneath is a bit smaller, and inside the space created, LED lights were installed. Thanks to this, we have very decorative lighting. On the top, LED lights were also installed, which gives it very decorative lighting. Decorative lighting was installed for decorative lighting. In the kitchen, according to the plan, an island was made. On it, as well as on the side, there is a compact countertop, while the fronts are veneered and the top is lacquered. As you can see, there are no handles, and these aren't push-to-open cabinets. The upper ones simply open from the bottom, as the front is extended, but at the bottom it would be hard to open from below, so a special tray was installed at the top, leaving space for your fingers, so you can easily grab the front, and there was no need to make any grooves here. All the drawers are hidden, so there was no need to install more of these trays and divide the front. But here we have a slightly different situation. At the top, there is also a regular drawer, but at the bottom, since on the other side there is a recess for audiovisual equipment up to halfway, there was only space left here for a shallow bar cabinet. Both the veneered and lacquered fronts. They have their pros and cons. Lacquered ones are more expensive and veneered ones are a bit cheaper. Lacquered ones are prone to chipping and damage, for example, if a dog scratches them or if we hit them with a suitcase while passing by, and then sometimes little white spots appear. On a white front, it won't matter much, but if we choose a dark color, it can become noticeable and ruin the visual effect. And what about veneer? It's more susceptible to damage from moisture above the kettle, above the dishwasher, above the stove. These are situations where steam can reach, especially on the edges, and the veneer can simply start to peel off. However, veneer won't work for all shapes. When we want to have milled fronts, then we definitely have to go for lacquered ones. So, as always, we just have to choose a solution that fits our needs and fits within our budget. Here at the end, we have 2 tall cabinets, one with a refrigerator and the other with household appliances. However, not like we usually see, where the oven is at eye level, the oven ended up at the bottom, and here in the cabinet, on these pull-out shelves, there's a coffee machine and a microwave. The island is the main worktop, which is why there's a splash guard here to protect the television, and to be able to use a blender or something, an outlet was installed here. Actually, there are even 2. The windows in this apartment have unfortunate proportions. Look, they go all the way down to the floor, so they're quite large, but there's also a lot of space above them, which visually makes the room seem lower. That's why a clever trick was used with the blinds, which were installed from the ceiling all the way down to the floor, making the windows look bigger and the rooms seem taller, and you can really see the effect. On this side of the island, there's a television, and underneath it, there's a niche that I already mentioned for the media equipment. On this side, we have an air conditioner, which is small enough to fit perfectly in this spot. And right below it, there are shelves, so you need to set the airflow in such a way that it doesn't blow onto the shelf, but further into the room. The shelves are enclosed on both sides. The shelves are enclosed both from the window side and here. On the wall side, the furniture board goes all the way to the window and down to the floor, up to the ceiling. The whole wall is simply covered with the board, because the board is just easy to clean. So, to avoid having to paint this problematic section in the future, the furniture board is the perfect solution. You just need to wash it. Similar motivations were important when choosing the wallpaper. Because even though it's beautiful, and the fabric texture adds coziness to the interior, However, it's important that this wallpaper is designed for public spaces, making it highly resistant to cleaning. And it will certainly last longer than if you just repainted this wall. The wallpaper won't need to be refreshed again in 2 or 3 years. And it's the same down here with the baseboards. There are tiles everywhere here after filling in. And here, the tiles have been aligned with the wall. Thanks to this, there is no surface where dust could accumulate. The less cleaning, the better. Custom-built furniture, which I most often come across, usually has a minimalist form. A bit like the kitchen or wardrobe I just showed you, the fronts basically cover the entire surface. They create a kind of furniture wall, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can get much more creative with the design, and here we have an example of that. Look, this cabinet could just as well have large fronts. Long ones, covering the whole thing, so we wouldn't see anything except the fronts. And yet the fronts are set back. Here, we have shelves and vertical panels pulled forward. Thanks to that, the whole piece of furniture looks much more attractive. And what's more, we can also make custom furniture. Not only for storage, but also, for example, coffee tables like this one, which was also made according to Ola's design. The living room and kitchenette are about 20 square meters. So does that mean we have one lamp for the living room and one for the kitchen? Definitely not. Let's count. Here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 16 light points for 20 square meters. Is that too much? Definitely not, because each lamp serves a slightly different function. Because we have these possibilities, we can control the lighting exactly as needed at any time. In the bedroom, wallpaper was also applied to the wall behind the bed, but this time it's a 3D effect wallpaper, which looks especially interesting when illuminated. Wardrobes were built on this bedroom wall, but remember that in this spot in the back, the wall is slanted on a section. That's why, just like here, we have deep wardrobes for clothes. Yes, right here. There are shallower shelves, and at the end, it goes at an angle, and we have small shelves here. There's a workspace on this side of the bedroom, a wide, comfortable desk. Notice that there's a little wall at the end here, so if your pen rolls, it won't fall to the floor. And the desk itself is also adjustable. On both sides of it, there's a little space next to the window, which has been used for storage. However, in order not to make narrow but deep shelves, which would simply be impractical, they are facing toward the desk. Look, here, among the books on the shelf, I saw Less Means Better. It's one of my favorite titles. It's not an interior design book, it's also not about minimalism, as many people think. It's a book about economic growth and whether it's possible to sustain such economic growth indefinitely, and to what extent it actually benefits us. Or not. Probably not. But I won't spoil it for you. It's really a great read. I managed to read it during one vacation with my kids, and normally it's not easy for me to focus on a book when I'm with the kids, so I definitely recommend it to you. In the bathroom, right across from the entrance, there's a sink with a mirror and a beautiful decoration which makes the space immediately give a good impression. If there was a toilet in this spot, it wouldn't look as nice. And under the sink, we have drawers. Of course, for cosmetics that you use regularly. And notice that in the top drawer, there's no cutout for the siphon. How is that possible? Let me explain. It's just that the siphon under the countertop immediately turns toward the wall at this spot and only then goes down further. And that's why there was no need to cut any hole. On this side of the bathroom, we have plenty of storage space. On this side, shelves. Here is the drawer for the vacuum cleaner. Below, there's a drawer for laundry items with a basket that you can easily take out. See, the drawer slides out all the way, so that's not a problem at all.
Thank you for your attention.
Below, there's a drawer that opens perfectly above the toilet, also for cleaning supplies. And at the bottom, there's a space that's harder to reach. There's no drawer there because you wouldn't be able to open it. That's why a magnetic front was made. It's not a filler panel. We didn't lose that space. You can just pry that front open and get inside. And that's where the cleaning supplies are stored. Meanwhile, up here above the toilet, there usually is a cabinet, but it's often made quite shallow. After all, this wall-hung toilet frame doesn't take up much space. And that's why the toilet here has been moved a bit forward. Thanks to that, the cabinet in this spot is deep enough to conveniently store various things. And now we close it. And look down here where we have a toilet paper holder mounted on the drawer. And in this drawer, there are paper supplies. Super clever solution. Underneath, there's another cabinet for cleaning supplies that are used daily. The shower area has been highlighted with different tiles, whose color matches the built-in furniture. And these are tiles with stripes. And notice how the specialist cut the tiles here by the shelves. He specifically chose these stripes so they would look nice. In the shower, we have a faucet with a thermostat that has two knobs, one for controlling the temperature and the other for controlling the flow. That's why we can set the temperature once and then just use this one from then on. It's definitely very convenient. I have this solution myself and I really appreciate it. The finishing of this apartment took place at the end of 2022 and cost a total of about $150,000. This amount includes tiles for about 5,000 lighting, over 4,000 wallpaper, with glue just under 2,500 household appliances, 12,000 labor, 5,000 plus construction chemicals, 10,000, and the biggest expense was custom-built furniture, which is not surprising because most of the furniture in this apartment was made to order, and they cost a total of about $50,000. For more inspiration, I invite you to our store at wnetrzazewnetrzaofficial and to our other videos. Be sure to subscribe to wnetrzazewnetrza, leave a thumbs up, and I'll be waiting for your comments. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye!